Commander Elena Santos stood motionless on the bridge of the EDS Nighthawk, Earth's most advanced stealth vessel, as she studied the holographic display showing an alien ship drifting through the Kuiper Belt. Its design defied conventional physics, a collection of crystalline structures that pulsed with an inner light, like a bioluminescent deep-sea creature scaled up to interstellar proportions. "Analysis," she commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. Humanity's first contact with an alien civilization wasn't going as anyone had expected. Dr. Maya Chen, the ship's xenotechnology expert, consulted her quantum interface. The vessel appears to be powered down but intact. No signs of battle damage. However, their distress beacon continues broadcasting on frequencies we've never seen before. It's like they're using the fabric of space-time itself as a communication medium. The Nighthawk had detected the signal 3 days ago. It had taken the combined processing power of Earth's quantum computing network to decode even a fraction of the message. The aliens, who called themselves the Centauri Ascendancy, claimed to be peaceful explorers seeking assistance. "Life signs?" Santos asked. "Confirmed. 23 beings, all in some form of stasis. Their biology is remarkable. Silicon-based, but with structures that suggest technological augmentation far beyond anything we've achieved." Santos weighed her options. First contact protocols were clear: approach with caution, maintain defensive readiness, but extend humanitarian aid when possible. Yet something about this situation felt wrong. The alien ship's position was too perfect, its distress too convenient. "Tactical, full-spectrum scan. I want to know if there's anything hiding out there." "Scan complete," Lieutenant James Park reported. "Nothing within." "Wait." He paused, fingers dancing across his interface. "Getting some quantum fluctuations at the edge of our sensor range. Could be natural background radiation, but the pattern seems too regular." Santos felt her muscles tense. Years of commanding stealth operations had taught her to trust her instincts. "Launch probe array. Passive scan mode only. Let's map those fluctuations." The probes scattered like seeds in the solar wind, their quantum sensors gathering data that painted a very different picture of their surroundings. 3 more alien vessels hung in the void, their presence masked by technology that bent light and energy around them. They had positioned themselves in a perfect ambush formation. "Well," Santos said quietly, "it seems our friends aren't as helpless as they'd like us to believe." She opened a channel to Earth Command, knowing the transmission would take hours to reach home. "This is Commander Santos. First contact scenario is compromised. Hostile forces detected. Requesting authorization to execute Protocol Omega." She didn't wait for a response. The Nighthawk's quantum computers had already calculated multiple scenarios, and only one offered a reasonable chance of survival. "All hands, battle stations. Dr. Chen, prepare the quantum phase inverters. Lieutenant Park, plot a course directly through their formation. They think they're hunting us. Time to show them why that's a mistake." The alien ships remained motionless, clearly confident in their trap. They couldn't know that the Nighthawk's sensors had pierced their stealth technology, or that humanity had developed weapons specifically designed to counter phase-shifted vessels. "Enemy ships powering up," Park reported. "They're moving to intercept." The lead alien vessel, the one broadcasting the distress signal, suddenly surged with energy. A transmission burst through their quantum communications array. "Your primitive vessel is now surrounded. Surrender and prepare to be boarded. The Centauri Ascendancy requires your technology and resources for the greater good of the galaxy." Santos allowed herself a small smile. "Send our response. 3 words only. Look behind you." The quantum phase inverters activated, creating a cascade of temporal displacement that shattered the aliens' stealth fields. Simultaneously, the Nighthawk's true capabilities revealed themselves. What had appeared to be a simple research vessel transformed as layers of quantum camouflage peeled away, exposing weapons systems that had been developed in secret for decades. "Enemy vessels attempting to reposition," Park announced, a note of satisfaction in his voice. Their stealth systems are failing. They're trying to compensate, but our inverters are keeping them phase-locked. Target their propulsion systems, Santos ordered. Minimal force. Let's show them we could destroy them, but choose not to. Sometimes the best way to win a war is to prevent it from starting. The Nighthawk's quantum lance weapons fired with surgical precision. Each blast created a localized field of altered space-time that temporarily disabled the alien vessel's engines. Within moments, the hunters found themselves immobilized, their supposedly superior technology rendered useless by human ingenuity. We cannot. The alien transmission was filled with confusion and fear. How is this possible? Your species was supposed to be primitive, barely capable of interplanetary travel. Santos opened a channel to all vessels. This is Commander Elena Santos of the Earth Defense Ship Nighthawk. Your attempted deception and hostile actions have been noted. However, we're willing to discuss this situation diplomatically. Once you power down your weapons and explain exactly why you thought ambushing us was a good idea. A long pause followed. Finally, a new voice responded, this one carrying the weight of authority. I am High Commander Vexthor of the Centauri Ascendancy. We apologize for our deception. We had detected your quantum technology signatures but assumed they were random fluctuations. No emerging species has ever developed quantum manipulation before mastering faster-than-light travel. You are unprecedented. Humanity has learned to be unprecedented. Santos replied. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us in 1,000 different ways. We learned to adapt, to think differently, to solve problems from angles others might never consider. Remember that before you think about trying something like this again. As the situation stabilized and first contact negotiations properly began, Santos couldn't help but reflect on the irony. The Centauri Ascendancy had hoped to find an easy target, a primitive species they could dominate through superior technology. Instead, they had discovered that humanity's apparent technological gaps were actually carefully concealed advantages. Their isolation hadn't made them vulnerable. It had made them dangerous in ways the galaxy wasn't prepared to handle. The price of pride, it seemed, was learning the hard way that appearances could be deceiving, especially when it came to underestimating humanity. Admiral Sarah Chen watched the tactical display aboard the EDS Sovereign as the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled moved silently through the void. 3 months had passed since the Centauri Ascendancy's failed ambush, and their response to that humiliation had been predictably brutal. Attacks on human colonies, attempts to blockade Earth's supply lines, and continuous probing of defense networks. Status of the quantum shroud? She asked, eyes fixed on the representation of 40 Centauri warships surrounding their primary forward base. Operating at peak efficiency, Captain Marcus Rodriguez reported. The entire fleet is phase-shifted. As far as their sensors are concerned, we're just background radiation. The quantum shroud was humanity's masterpiece of stealth technology, not just bending light and energy around ships, but shifting them partially out of normal spacetime. It had been developed for exploration, allowing vessels to study potentially hostile alien civilizations without detection. Now it would be used for war. Connect me to all ships, Chen ordered. When the channel opened, she took a moment to choose her words carefully. This is Admiral Chen. The Centauri Ascendancy thought they could intimidate us into submission. When that failed, they resorted to brute force, assuming their superior numbers would prevail. Today, we show them why quantity means nothing against quality. Execute Operation Shadow Strike. The human fleet split into 3 groups, each approaching the Centauri base from a different vector. The enemy's defense grid was impressive. Layers of energy shields, automated weapon platforms, and sensor arrays designed to detect any conventional attack. But they weren't looking for ships that existed slightly out of phase with normal space. First target acquired, Rodriguez announced. Their primary power distribution node. Quantum lance batteries charged and ready. All ships, weapons free, Chen commanded. Show them what happens when you push humanity into a corner. The attack began with surgical precision. Quantum lance beams, invisible until the moment of impact, created localized areas of altered physics that bypassed the Centauri shields completely. Power nodes exploded, defense platforms went dark, and communication arrays shattered before the enemy realized they were under attack. Centauri fleet is responding. Lieutenant Sarah Wong reported from Tactical. But their formation is chaos. They're firing blindly, trying to hit targets they can't see. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. Launched the Whispers. From the belly of each human warship emerged swarms of autonomous drones. Unlike traditional combat units, the Whispers were based on predatory insects from Earth, small, numerous, and capable of coordinating their actions with terrifying efficiency. They phased into normal space just long enough to attach themselves to Centauri ships before shifting back, carrying portions of the enemy vessels' hulls with them. Centauri vessels experiencing catastrophic hull breaches, Wong announced. Their adaptive repair systems can't compensate for matter being phase-shifted out of normal space. The enemy's response was predictable. Their ships began powering up their faster-than-light drives, preparing to retreat. But humanity had anticipated this too. Activate the quantum anchors, Chen ordered. The space around the Centauri base rippled as dozens of previously hidden devices created a web of altered space-time. FTL travel became impossible within their field of effect, trapping the enemy fleet in normal space. Admiral Rodriguez called out, "We're receiving a transmission from the Centauri command ship. Put it through." The holographic display showed High Commander Vexthor, his crystalline features distorted with what might have been fear. This is impossible. How are you doing this? Your technology shouldn't be capable of." "Of what?" Chen interrupted. "Of thinking differently. Of developing along paths you never considered. You assumed that because we hadn't mastered FTL travel, we must be technologically inferior. The truth is, we focused on other priorities, like making sure that when we finally met hostile aliens, we'd be ready for them." "We can negotiate," Vexthor offered quickly. "The Ascendancy is willing to." "The time for negotiations was 3 months ago," Chen cut him off. "Before you attacked our colonies, before you tried to starve our worlds. Now you learn why humanity's isolation wasn't a weakness. It was preparation." The battle ended exactly as the simulations had predicted. The Centauri fleet, unable to escape or effectively fight back against enemies they couldn't properly detect, was systematically disabled. Their base, once considered impregnable, was secured within hours. As Chen supervised the operation's final phases, she received a priority transmission from Earth Command. The quantum encrypted message was brief but significant. Operation Shadow Strike successful. Similar attacks executed at 3 other Centauri bases. Enemy forces in full retreat across all sectors. Phase 2 authorized. "Send word to all ships," Chen ordered. "The real war begins now." The Centauri Ascendancy thought they could break us through force. Instead, they've only awakened humanity's true potential. We didn't spend centuries dreaming of the stars just to be conquered when we finally reached them. She studied the tactical display where damaged Centauri ships were being secured by human vessels that had seemed technologically inferior just months before. The enemy had made a crucial mistake. They had judged humanity's capabilities by conventional standards, never imagining that isolation might produce solutions they hadn't considered possible. The price of that assumption was about to become very clear indeed. Fleet Admiral David Kang stood in the Strategic Command Center of Luna Base, watching as real-time data streamed in from across 3 sectors of space. The Centauri Ascendancy had spent the last month adapting to human tactics, and their response had been more innovative than anyone had anticipated. "Show me the Proxima engagement," he ordered. The holographic display shifted, revealing a battle in progress. Centauri ships now emanated strange energy fields that seemed to stabilize local spacetime, making quantum shifting more difficult. They had learned from their defeats. Dr. Emily Nash, head of quantum warfare development, study the data with intense focus. They're using modified shield harmonics to create areas of normalized space. Clever. They can't detect our phase-shifted ships directly, but they can force us to remain in normal space within those fields. How long until they can deploy this technology across their entire fleet? Kang asked. Based on current proliferation rates, 2 weeks at most. We need a counter-strategy now. Kang nodded slowly. This was why humanity had survived countless challenges, the ability to adapt faster than their opponents. Show me the neural net projections. What solutions has the AI tactical system developed? The display changed, showing dozens of potential countermeasures. The neural networks, modeled on Earth's most efficient predators, had been working on the problem since the first encounter with the new Centauri defense systems. Director Chen, your assessment. Lisa Chen, head of the Advanced Warfare Division, stepped forward. The Centauri made one crucial mistake. They assumed our quantum shifting technology was our only advantage. They don't realize we've been holding back our most advanced developments. She gestured, and the display showed a new class of vessel, its design unlike anything humanity had previously fielded. Meet the Chimera-class adaptive warfare platform. Instead of trying to counter their normalization fields, we let them think they've nullified our advantage. Then we show them why humanity doesn't rely on just one trick. The next 12 hours were spent preparing for humanity's response. Across the solar system, shipyards that had been hidden in quantum pocket space revealed themselves, each producing vessels that could rewrite the rules of combat. All command units, this is Fleet Admiral Kang. Operation Hydra is now active. Show them why evolution favors those who can adapt. The battle that followed would be studied for generations. As Centauri forces engaged the human fleet near Proxima Centauri, their normalization fields ready to counter quantum shifting, humanity unveiled its new approach. The Chimera-class vessels lived up to their namesake, their nanofabrication systems allowing them to reconfigure their structure and capabilities in real time. When Centauri weapons targeted their shield frequencies, the ships simply altered their defensive systems faster than the enemy could adjust their targeting. When normalization fields tried to lock them in normal space, they responded by splitting into smaller autonomous units that overwhelmed the field's processing capacity. Centauri fleet is falling back, reported Commander Sarah Chen from the front line. Their normalization fields are failing. They can't maintain coherence against multiple simultaneous adaptation patterns. Press the advantage, Kang ordered. Show them that every countermeasure they develop only makes us stronger. The Chimera ships demonstrated why they represented humanity's approach to warfare. Like the ancient mythological creature, they possessed multiple ways to defeat their opponents. When the Centauri adapted to one approach, the ships simply switched to another, their tactical neural networks learning and evolving strategies faster than the enemy could respond. Admiral, Dr. Nash called out, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the Centauri command ships. They're attempting some kind of emergency protocol. The enemy vessels suddenly began emitting massive energy pulses, trying to overload their own normalization fields in a desperate attempt to create areas of completely chaotic spacetime. It was a last-ditch effort to deny humanity the advantage. Predictable, Chen commented. They still think in terms of absolute solutions. They don't understand that chaos itself can be an advantage if you've evolved to thrive in it. The Chimera ships demonstrated this principle immediately. Instead of trying to resist the chaotic spacetime distortions, they used them. Their adaptive systems, surfing the waves of warped physics like ancient sailors riding ocean swells. The more the Centauri tried to create disorder, the more effectively humanity's vessels operated. Send word to all commands, Kang ordered as the battle's outcome became clear. The Centauri adaptation strategy has failed. Begin Phase 3 deployment. It's time to show them that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to turn every challenge into an opportunity. As reports flooded in from across the front, showing similar victories in every engagement, Kang reflected on the irony. The Centauri had thought they could match humanity's adaptation rate, not understanding that their very attempts to counter human tactics had only served as catalyst for even more rapid evolution. They had inadvertently pushed humanity to develop technologies and strategies that might have taken decades to emerge otherwise. The price of underestimating humanity's adaptive capabilities was becoming clearer with each passing moment. The question now wasn't whether the Centauri would be defeated, but how many more evolutionary steps humanity would take before the end. Director Alexandra Martinez stood before the quantum projection chamber in Earth's Diplomatic Operations Center, studying the complex web of alliances and rivalries that made up the Centauri ascendancy. After months of conflict, humanity had discovered that their enemy wasn't the monolithic empire they'd first appeared to be. "Show me the latest defection patterns," she commanded. The holographic display shifted, highlighting systems and sectors where Centauri client races had begun breaking away from their master's control. Dr. James Chen, head of Psychology, analyzed the data alongside her. "The pattern is accelerating. Every demonstration of our adaptive capabilities causes more fractures in their power structure. The Centauri built their empire on technological superiority. We're not just defeating them. We're shattering their entire foundation of control." The latest intelligence reports painted a clear picture. The ascendancy had subjugated dozens of species by maintaining a careful illusion of insurmountable technological advantage. Now that humanity had repeatedly proven that advantage to be false, the carefully constructed hierarchy was crumbling. "Status of Operation Mindbreak?" Martins asked. "Exceeding projections," Chen replied. "The quantum-entangled data packets are penetrating their information networks exactly as planned. Every Centauri citizen with access to their datanet is seeing proof of their leadership's failures, their military's defeats, and most importantly, evidence of the lies they've been told about their own history." Martinez nodded slowly. The operation had been controversial, using quantum technology not to destroy Centauri ships, but to bypass their information security and expose their population to the truth. It was a weapon that attacked not their military capability, but the very social structure that supported their empire. Admiral Kang reports the latest tactical analysis, her AI assistant announced. "Centauri fleet movements suggest their command structure is fragmenting. Individual battle groups are acting without coordination, some retreating to protect their home systems while others launch desperate attacks." "They're afraid," Chen observed, "not just of defeat, but of what comes after. They've spent centuries telling themselves they were the pinnacle of evolution, that their dominion was natural and right. We haven't just beaten them militarily, we forced them to confront the fallacy of their entire worldview." The quantum display updated with new information. Across Centauri space, client races were rising up, using technologies and strategies they'd learned from observing human victories. Species that had been thought primitive or safely subjugated were proving just as capable of adaptation as humanity. "Director," her assistant interrupted. "Priority transmission from the Centauri capital world." The message that appeared was unprecedented, not from the military command or the political leadership, but from the Ascendancy's Scientific Council. They requested immediate negotiations, not for surrender, but for mutual understanding and exchange of knowledge. Martins allowed herself a small smile. This was the true breaking point, when the enemy's intellectuals decided their leaders were wrong. "Prepare a response. Inform them that humanity is willing to discuss terms, but only with representatives from all species in their sphere of influence present." The next several hours brought a cascade of developments. Centauri military units began standing down, not on orders from their high command, but at the insistence of their own populations. The quantum data penetration had worked better than anyone had anticipated, spreading the truth faster than the leadership could contain it. "Director," Chen said quietly, studying the latest social analysis, "we may have accidentally triggered a complete reformation of their society. The evidence we've been broadcasting, not just of their military defeats, but of the achievements of lesser races, of the possibilities of different evolutionary paths, It's causing a fundamental shift in their cultural consciousness. Martinez nodded. Not accidentally, Doctor. This was always a possibility. Humanity learned long ago that the most effective way to defeat an enemy is to turn them into something other than an enemy. We didn't just develop weapons and shields. We developed ways to change how people think. The quantum display showed more defections, more systems declaring independence, more Centauri citizens demanding answers from their leaders. The empire that had seemed unshakable months ago was discovering that its greatest vulnerability wasn't to humanity's advanced technology, but to the simple truth that adaptation and evolution could take many forms. Prepare a full diplomatic team, Martinez ordered. When their leadership finally breaks, and they will break, we need to be ready to help guide what comes next. Humanity didn't fight this war just to win it. We fought it to make sure it never needs to be fought again. As the situation continued to develop, Martinez reflected on how the conflict had evolved. The Centauri had expected a simple military engagement, never imagining that humanity's most powerful weapons wouldn't be their quantum ships or adaptive technology, but their understanding of how empires fall, not just through military defeat, but through the collapse of the ideas that hold them together. The breaking point, it turned out, wasn't a military threshold or a technological advantage. It was the moment when an entire civilization realized that everything they had believed about their place in the universe was wrong. And humanity, having faced their own such moments throughout history, was uniquely qualified to help them through what came next. The Great Hall of the Galactic Concordat shimmered with quantum-stabilized light as representatives from over 30 formerly subjugated species gathered alongside human and Centauri delegates. Supreme Commander Elena Santos, who had led humanity's first contact with the Centauri 6 months ago, stood at the central podium, surveying the historic assembly. The quantum architecture is holding stable, her AI assistant reported. All species' environmental needs are being met within their individual fields. The technology that had once been used to wage war now served to allow beings from vastly different worlds to gather in the same space. Each delegation existed within its own perfectly maintained environmental bubble, while quantum translation systems enabled seamless communication across all languages and forms of expression. Begin the session, Santos commanded. The chamber quieted as she addressed the gathering. 6 months ago, humanity faced its first interstellar conflict. Today, we meet not as victors and vanquished, but as architects of a new future. The Centauri Ascendancy's fall could have led to chaos. Instead, it has given us an unprecedented opportunity. On the quantum displays surrounding the chamber, images showed the transformation already underway. Former Centauri military installations converted into research centers, quantum technology being shared with species that had been deemed too primitive to handle it. Collaborative projects between races that had been intentionally kept apart for centuries. High Speaker Vex Thor, now representing a fundamentally transformed Centauri society, rose to speak. Our people believed that evolution had a single path, that technological progress could only follow specific steps in a specific order. Humanity showed us not just the error of our ways, but the limitless possibilities we had denied ourselves and others. The following presentations demonstrated this principle in action. Species that had specialized in biological engineering were combining their knowledge with quantum physics experts. Civilizations that had developed unique approaches to space travel were sharing insights with those who had focused on different technologies. The rigid hierarchy of the ascendancy had been replaced by a network of mutual exchange and development. Dr. Maya Chen, who had first analyzed Centauri technology during the initial contact, presented the Concordat's first major initiative. The Adaptive Exchange Program will allow all member species to share their unique evolutionary and technological approaches. We've already seen incredible breakthroughs when different development paths intersect. The quantum displays showed examples. Ships that combine multiple species technologies, operating in ways that would have been impossible for any single approach. Medical treatments that merged biological and quantum engineering. Communication systems that worked across previously incompatible technological frameworks. But perhaps most importantly, Santos continued, "We're establishing the Concordat Defense Initiative, not as a military force, but as a cooperative effort to protect all species' right to develop along their own evolutionary paths." The initiative's first project appeared on the displays, a network of quantum sensors and communication relays that would allow early detection of any force attempting to dominate others. The technology that humanity had developed for war would now serve to prevent war. "There will be challenges ahead," Santos acknowledged. "Change never comes easily, especially to societies built on the assumption of their own supremacy. But humanity has learned through its own history that the ability to adapt, to learn from defeats, and to embrace new possibilities is what truly drives evolution." As the session continued, Santos received a private message from Earth Command. The quantum scan data was clear. Throughout explored space, species that had hidden from the ascendancy were beginning to emerge. The galaxy was awakening to new possibilities, new paths of development that had been suppressed under Centauri rule. "The real work begins now," she told the assembly as the session concluded. "We've proven that evolution isn't a linear path to a predetermined peak. It's an endless branching of possibilities, each valuable, each contributing to the greater whole." Looking out over the gathered representatives, some humanoid, some crystalline, some existing as pure energy contained within quantum fields, Santos felt a profound sense of rightness. Humanity had emerged from isolation not to conquer or dominate, but to demonstrate a fundamental truth. That strength comes not from forcing others to follow your path, but from learning to see the value in all paths. The Centauri had thought they were invincible because they had reached what they believed to be the peak of possible development. Humanity had shown them that there was no peak, only endless possibilities for growth and adaptation. Now those possibilities were multiplying exponentially as species that had been forced into artificial competition began to cooperate and combine their unique approaches. As the delegates departed through quantum tunnels to their respective worlds, Santos reflected on how far they'd come. The war had lasted less than a year, but its outcome would reshape the galaxy for centuries to come. Humanity had won not by being stronger or more advanced, but by being different. And by showing that different wasn't inferior, it was essential. The dawn of this new era brought with it a profound truth. The greatest power wasn't in dominating evolution's path, but in embracing all the paths it could take. Humanity's gift to the galaxy hadn't been their technology or their military prowess, but their understanding that true strength comes from diversity, adaptation, and the courage to forge new ways forward. The future that stretched before them was bright with possibilities that even humanity's most advanced quantum computers couldn't predict. And that, perhaps, was the greatest victory of all.